This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information. Bascon, yes. My man.
What's up, Hamilton?
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much for taking time out to come on Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lao. Yeah. For our viewers that are just tuning in this episode, Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lao strives to peel back the curtain on industry professionals, leaders in the industry, leaders of specific locations, people that experience incredible experiences. Try to pick their brain on what it is about them that make them successful. Today, I have the honor of having Kenny Bascon on, a racing aficionado who races competitively, who is a power lifter competitively, and also an amazing businessman and real estate agent. So, Kenny, thank you so much. I really, so much honor and respect to have you come on our show.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because this is going to be our second try, right? Our first try, and I'll post like a quick snippet, like right up here, of us having us trying to experiment with outdoor podcasts. You know, I'm gonna include a little picture of his car because he has a dope car, and yeah, you know, as the podcast was progressing, just so much of Kenny's life is just incredible that we're just like, all right, we gotta let's take a take two because, you know, I want to make sure that I document and really share properly Kenny's life because Kenny's life is a pretty interesting life. Now, Kenny, I'd love to start by diving into, you know, your time in this area and kind of getting into the racing culture.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can talk a little bit about how you got into racing and, you know, what racing means to you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the kind words. You know, I like to stay like grounded a lot. So a lot of the stuff you're saying about me, I love what I do and I do what I love, you know. So in terms of racing, cars in general, you know, I was one of those kids, grew up loving cars. I was blessed to be able to grow up near an area where other people also enjoyed cars, racing in general, and just car life. And so as a little kid, I lived near a Nathan's where for generations, even before me and I was driving, there was people that would come out and they would meet up, you know, much like other spots, you know, anywhere else in the world. But it was very well known where this Nathan's would be a car meetup. It would be a place where people would go and, you know, I guess arrange races and it was also a bike spot. So there was a lot of motorcycles, a lot of cars. And it was one of those, I don't want to say stereotypical, but it was, when you think of like an old school meetup for cars, it was kind of like that spot. And as a kid, I used to ride my bike down there, 10, 11, 12 years old on a Thursday night. And I would see all these cars and all these people hanging out. And I was like, man, I can't wait till I could drive. And then finally, when I was able to drive, I would go out there, I'd hang out, go out with my friends. And it kind of helped mold me as a person because I basically was doing something that I loved. And I was also a competitive person. So obviously, you know, the racing aspect came into play. And don't get me wrong, I was very young at the time. So I was learning as I went along. I don't know if, you know, I don't want to touch on too, you know, going to a subject that may not be appropriate. But, you know, the racing itself and cars in general, it taught me a lot of things that I felt I was able to carry as an adult. It taught me a lot about my mind. It taught me a lot about competition and just living my passion. So growing up at this Nathan's that was nearby me, you know, I met a lot of people. I was blessed to be able to meet people. It also taught me about confidence. I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead.
No. I want to say, when you were a kid riding your bike down over there,
Right.
and you saw, these arranged races, what was it about that just had a click in your head that I want to do that?
Well, so it's funny that you mentioned that. As a kid, I used to always tell my parents I wanted to go karts. And my parents never really understood what that meant. They thought I wanted to go and just like have fun, but in my mind, I wanted to go and I wanted to race, right? So I always joke around with my wife and my family, but like, if I'd done go karts, maybe I would have been a famous race car driver because I love it so much, and I feel like, it's not cut out for everyone, but when you, if you're good at something, you're passionate about it, and it just comes naturally. That's something that I felt as a kid. That's what attracted me to those people.
Right, because you did try go-karting when you were a kid?
No.
Or anything, any kind of racing, actual
The
racing?
only racing I did as a kid was me going to the races,
Watching them.
watching them, and then as a young person also going up. But racing in general, and I don't want to really go too crazy about
Sure.
illegal street racing or anything like that. But like the competition for cars going to the track, for example, we used to have famous quarter-mile racetracks, Englishtown, Atco, Island Dragway. My apology.
No, don't worry, no worries.
All those racetracks, they're all closed now, by the way. Different generation. The last track, Island Dragway might still be open, but Atco recently. These are famous racetracks within our local area that I used to go to, and I used to race also. I just enjoyed the competition. I enjoyed driving. So, as a kid going out there and just watching some of the older people, I just love the cars. I love the competition. I love the people, the environment. So,
Now, when you got a little older, I remember you were saying how you were involved with cars. I think was it like you were not that you were painting the cars, but you were actively engaged with the actual cars in the races. Can you talk a little bit about that? Am I mistaken?
no, well, it depends. So, are you talking about like racing, or are you talking about car culture? It's two different things. Only because I had started a vlog. It's a website, a vlog, and it was called Central. SNTRL is what it is. So my Instagram is actually Ken_SNTRL, Ken Central. And the idea for the name for Central actually came from Central Avenue. Because Central Avenue had this reputation for being a very famous race car spot. Nathan's had the history for car culture. So me growing up here and a lot of people converging over here, there was other famous race spots. So we're talking about Hunts Point, Zariga in the Bronx, Flatlands in Brooklyn.
And you raced in all those spots.
We used to go everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah, we used to go everywhere. And the thing is that, back then, I don't think that culture will ever come back because technology is so much better now. So back then, it was more like, you go out there, it was a very private kind of thing. It's only if you knew. And usually the people that were coming out were people that were in the know. So it's not like now with social media and then cameras everywhere, and then it's just a different culture. Back then, if you really knew about it, it's because you were involved in it. You were involved in, and it was a subculture.
Right. And you were passionate about it to a point where you created your own blog.
Vlog about it, but it wasn't about racing though.
Oh, okay.
It was more about just covering culture of car culture in general that represented the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because the West Coast had its own reputation. And it was something that here in the East Coast, we used to look up to the West Coast, like, oh man, West Coast, look at the way they build their cars, look at the way they, their hangout spots. And that's because, they had the weather that benefited them. And a lot of the best companies for tuners back in the day, if they were in Japan, they were most likely in the West Coast. So we were trying to show that the East Coast also had its own, branding, its own reputation that we could build on. And so Central, that was like the foundation for starting that vlog, and it blew up pretty quick, and it did pretty well in the beginning.
Wow.
The Instagram page went from 0 to like 30,000 followers in about 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then politics got involved, got burned out a little bit. So.
Right. So how'd you get into actually getting behind the wheel from the vlogging to video logging, right?
Right.
Video logging to getting behind the wheel.
So getting behind the wheel. I've been behind the wheel since, we're talking about the early 2000s. So this is well before Central. You know, I used to go out with my friends, and we used to go and watch the races and admire the races. And there was, you know, back then you could go to certain race spots, and all you had to do was just line up. You know, it was they would block off streets, kind of like, I don't know if you know Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
All right,
I was
so-
just gonna like shout it out like 10 times just now, like
so-
Fast and the Furious.
So I love Fast and Furious because well, I love the first one and the third one. Not really crazy about the other ones, but two things: Fast and Furious, number one, in my opinion, destroyed car culture. It changed. Let me rephrase that. Destroy is a strong word, but it definitely didn't benefit it for those that were involved in the know, right? So like if you were in the know, it was a very close knit community. I mean, sure, there was like rivalries and competition, but you had to really appreciate car culture in order to be involved in it. Once you had a movie like Fast and Furious, next thing you know, you had people that had no real business being involved in this underground culture now wanting to be a part of it. And it brought a different aspect to car culture.
Right.
Number two, true story, the Fast and Furious idea actually came from someone coming here to New York and watching a race, a real street race. And then he went back, and if you read the original, if you buy the original Fast and Furious collector's edition, they have a little snippet that describes a race that happened here in New York, and they watched it, and they went back and they wrote the script. Yeah, so it's pretty dope. But yeah, Fast and Furious and all this stuff. Also behind the wheel. I got behind the wheel. I found that I enjoyed being competitive. You know, going to the track and racing, and the mindset that I found behind the wheel actually helped me to understand, like, I don't want to say how to win, but how to win.
No, but it's
Yeah,
it's the advantage of competing.
Right.
Within the process of competing, you gain so much internal growth.
Right.
But you never know what kind of growth you're gonna get until you actually go out there and compete, which is the most fascinating thing, because I'm sure when you're racing, you're going, I don't know how fast you are, I've never raced before,
Right.
but I'm imagining like 100 plus miles an hour, and it's like one little mistake, it's it. That's it, right?
I'm going to tell you something
Sure.
that, based on what you just said, when you're racing, regardless, and I think this applies to anyone that's good at something competitive that you do, there's a difference between being really good at doing something and then just doing it, right? So when you're racing, you're not thinking about the speed. You're not thinking about, what can happen. It's almost like you're just trusting your instinct and what you're good at and just doing it. And I feel like I apply that to everything else in my life now. You know, it's taught me that, and sometimes some people call it tunnel vision, but when you find a certain like frequency in your mind where you could turn it on and all of a sudden you're so locked in at what you're doing that you have no doubt that you could be good at whatever you're doing, or the result is going to be in your favor. And it might not always be, but turning it on means that you're going to be at your best, and that's one thing that racing has taught me. Like I used to be able to like key in mentally, and it just translated physically.
Just give our viewers a little better of an understanding of what you're trying to say. When you're actually competing, are you thinking about winning? Are you thinking about losing? What are you thinking about? What's going through your mind?
Definitely thinking about winning, but I'm thinking, I'm definitely thinking about winning.
Okay.
But I'm also thinking, it's kind of like, and I know we're going to touch on this later. It's kind of like when you're lifting or you're putting yourself in a position where you might be testing yourself, right? It's not necessarily that I'm going to beat the other person, even though that's what you want to do. It's kind of like you're going to beat yourself. Like I'm going to do what I got to do to win. I'm trying to put it into words that make sense, but that's pretty much the mindset. The mindset is turning on some type of switch in your mind where you're not blatantly telling, I'm going to beat this person, but you're so confident that if you do what you got to do, that you are.
Yeah, there's like an excitement almost. Like you're about to go into the fire.
You're about to go into the fire. Well, it's so weird. So like I used to play this song when I used to race, and it was very calm. And so you would think that, you're playing something all hyper and crazy. And when I used to go and race back in the day, and I rolled up my windows and it was just me, I used to play a very mellow song, and it was the perfect thing where my nerves were at ease, and I was just focused on, driving. When you see the light go green, or you see a flashlight light off, or you see a hand drop, it's like, all right, boom, I'm out. So I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No,
But it's finding a mental peace where your nerves are at bay, and everything just works in tune. Your physical, your mind, and you're expecting a result, and it's like you're almost gonna get that result because I turned it on in my mind.
right. Like kind of, you already have predestined in your head, this is gonna happen.
This is gonna happen.
And you're gonna, like, there is no other alternative that's going through your head.
Correct.
And I think that there is value to be said about that, because I think competitors at the highest level, like for those of you that haven't watched it, The Last Dance by Michael Jordan, right?
Oh yeah.
Like when Michael Jordan competes, it's like there's no question that he's gonna lose.
That's
like,
exactly it.
Like I think like, and there's a humongous value in everything you just said, because I think when people, especially the people that are a little more timid on things, right?
Right.
And I've been there, right? Where it's like you're monopolizing your brain with potential of failure, and it just suddenly just takes over your brain, and it's like you're not even thinking about winning anymore.
Right.
Which is what you should be doing, right? Especially if you're competing. That should be, a priority.
Right.
That there is no doubt, right? Because there's a whole bunch of analogies that can be drawn from this as well. Like when I used to teach, right? I used to teach math, and the students that saw a math formula and told themselves that I don't get this.
Right.
Like they can't even see the alternatives in solving the problem at this point,
lost.
just because they've already monopolized their brain with negativity,
Exactly.
right?
And they're
versus students that's like, hey, I'm gonna wholeheartedly open myself with the possibility of getting it and trying to solve the problem.
Right.
That I think that there's humongous value that our culture doesn't capitalize on. Right. There's the power of positive thinking.
100%.
And it's just like, and I'm sure when you're competing at the highest level, there is no doubt that you're gonna lose. Like you have, it's just you're performing at the peak.
The peak. So I'm glad you touched on something that's very important, and I think the most important thing out of this whole conversation, this topic, is that and some people call it being cocky or arrogant, but if you watch all the people that are great, all the people that are great, and even those that aren't great, but they're competing at a very high level, and you ask them who they think the greatest person is, they may choose a Michael Jordan if that's the epitome, but many times they'll say themselves. Mm-hmm. And they might not be the best, but their belief is, I am the best. And then people say, oh, you're arrogant, you're confident, you're cocky. And to be honest with you, in order to compete, in my opinion, at any high level of whatever you do, you have to believe in yourself to the point where you think you're the greatest. It's impossible to be great at something or work towards greatness, and you have some type of self-doubt that, oh, maybe someone's better than me, or maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. Because how can you get past that level if you have that doubt? So
yeah, I think it's a very important point that you make, especially for the doubters that are calling people cocky or arrogant, right? Maybe they themselves have plateaued. Maybe they themselves don't see themselves as the ability of getting great. And they try to impose upon a belief onto somebody else. Right. But ultimately, if you imagine it like this, if Michael Jordan told himself, I'm going to be a B player, guess what's going to happen? He's going to be a B player, right? I'm going to settle. I'm going to sleep in because I'm not that great anyways. Right? Like, it has to have that strong, high goal. 100%. And, it's like if you shoot for the stars, you're aiming for the stars. You're going to shoot for the stars, right? And check this out. Even if you don't make it to the stars, you'll hit the moon, right?
I use that, bro. That analogy is something that I've used in the past.
And it's like, to me, no disrespect to people that doubt themselves.
Right.
And maybe in their life, they have accepted a part of themselves. No disrespect to anybody who have that kind of belief,
whatsoever, because it's not cut out for everyone.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like there is something to be said about somebody imposing their belief on somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like have that full belief in yourself to chase after your dreams. I mean, this analogy can go on and on to whatever
100%.
field you're in,
Right.
with whether it's a relationship that you're trying to build with a significant other.
Right.
It's like if you have high expectations,
Right.
you'll achieve high expectations.
Correct.
And
Yes.
and I really want to make a point about this. I mean, we're at this is going to be episode 18 or 19. This is going to be in my podcast series, right? And a consistent theme that I find with all of my guests, especially the ones that are super hyper successful, is exactly that. They have high standards. They believe that they're the best. They believe that they're striving to be the best. I mean, whether or not they are the best is not even the point here.
Right.
The point is during that belief, that process.
Yep, 100%.
That's how you get there.
Right.
Anyways, without going too much of a tangent,
No.
it's a very important point to make, especially coming from your life as a competitive racer, and we're going to talk about in a second, as a competitive power lifter.
Right.
You got to have this competitive mindset, and it just
100%.
for those of you that haven't competed in your life, just find something and compete, because you figure out something about yourself. I used to box, and I competed in the Golden Gloves, and it's just there's a lot of personal growth that you get just competing and finding out about yourself that you'll never know, and it just translates to all other areas.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But I wanted to touch on one more thing about because you still race now.
Yes.
Yeah, what drives you right now to continue racing, and anything, any hardships that you've ever encountered with racing that...
All right. So I will always be into cars. I will always race. And one thing that I believe in is, to live your passion, right? And I'm passionate about driving. I love driving. I love cars. I love competing. So, I'm not some F1 race car driver, but I will go to the track, and I have goals, and I go and try to attack my goals. And I believe that if I do what I love, it'll translate to the rest of my life. So for example, if I live my passion driving and I live my passion going racing when I can, it'll translate to my real estate business, because I love real estate. I love helping people. And I think that if you spend time doing what you enjoy doing, you spend time going after what you're passionate about, I can translate that to other areas of my life. I can translate it to being a father, a husband, a business owner, helping people buy and sell, even in the gym, be an example. I see people that inspire me, and then I have people that I think I inspire. So it's like, it's all connected. So
it's a muscle in your brain.
Yeah.
It's I know people that kind of, again, the naysayers. That's like, hey, why are you doing this? They don't get it. The competitive side. Like, I like Spartan racing and all that stuff. I mean, there's like a lot of different avenues of competition, but it's essentially a muscle that you train in your brain.
Right.
Because I'm a big David Goggins fan. When it hits the fan,
right.
If you're always ready and you're always in the grind and you're always competing, when it hits the fan, no matter what you do, in your case, real estate, right?
Yes.
It's like you are on. I wanted to say really quick, back to this competition. I have a funny story that I'd love to share with the viewers. I'm a second-degree brown belt in judo, right?
Okay.
And I remember a few years back, the last time I trained it wasn't even training. I went to a competition. This was like 2019 or something like that. And I had my gi in the car. I just left it there for like a year or two or whatever. I haven't trained in a while. And I went to a competition to support my friend, and they had an opening for a brown belt, black belt division. And my sensei was there. My sensei was like, hey, if you want, if you keep it in shape, just go do it.
Right. And this is a competition.
This was a competition, brown belt, black belt level. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. And like at the moment when I signed up, it was just like the adrenaline, the excitement, because it's like I'm gonna get to practice again. I'm gonna get back into the fire and really compare myself.
Right.
Even though I haven't been training for a year, but I want to see. I've been keeping in shape. I want to see. If I'm gonna be able to still hold my own. And even I got destroyed, of course, right? Because I haven't been training for a year. Right. But just the, that excitement. Hardship is there. Right. Let's run towards the hardship.
Right. 100%.
Let's compete. Let's get that excitement going. And there's nothing more feeling alive, and that I felt so alive. Right. Even though I lost, but clearly, obviously, I haven't been training for a year.
I mean, you haven't trained in a while.
But you know what I mean? But it's like that excitement. So it's like, again, I encourage my viewers too, dive into competition, but don't just compete for the sake of competing. Like go for a purpose of bettering yourself.
Yeah.
Because within, again, as we're mentioning, as within the process of, process of competing, you're ingraining something far greater in yourself.
So there's one word that you brought up right now. I would love to just bring it up real quick because it's one of my mottos, to always live with purpose. Because, like I'll talk to someone, let's say 80, 90 years old, and you could see an 80 or 90-year-old person, and sometimes they look like they can barely move. And then you'll see someone that's 80 or 90, and they're moving around like they're 50 or 60. And you always ask them, what is it? Like, what is the secret to them being so, agile at an age that you should probably be like in bed, or at home? And they'll always say, I live with a purpose every single day. I mean, that's like the common theme. So when I live, my purpose, I live with multiple purposes, and I think that me going and doing what I enjoy doing throughout life also allows me to live with purpose. So, my goals are a purpose. My family is a purpose. My clients are a purpose. And all these different things, because you mentioned the word purpose.
Yeah.
And I think living with purpose will not just help someone succeed at life, whatever they do, but I think it also kind of keeps you young and keeps you, it keeps you alive. So, sorry, I just figured I'd bring that in.
No,
that was really dope, man.
It's really, really important, because it's like, there's a lot of purposes that we have in day to day. Right? Like the purpose of the day is to just finish. Like there's people that do the 9 to 5, and it's like purpose of the day: go to work, go home. You know what I mean? But then it's like, is there anything greater?
Right.
And it's when you dive yourself into competition, there is.
Yeah.
It's like it's no longer just about living for the sake of living to die in a way. Right. It's like you have high expectation, high standard things.
100%.
It's again a very consistent theme with all my guests that I have on. But I wanted to dive into because this is a really important story that I want you to share as well. The competitive weightlifting powerlifting, right?
Powerlifting.
That how did you get into it? It's a really great story that I'd love for you to share.
Yeah. So I love powerlifting. I love lifting, but I love just fitness in general. And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I love it, and I know that some people may not understand what I'm saying when I talk about it. Like early on, we're going about maybe 10, 15 years ago, I was pretty overweight. I was definitely out of shape. I wasn't active. I used to eat a lot, and I was a homebody for a period of time. And so my daughter was born, and my wife convinced me, listen, you got to go to the doctor, right? So I haven't been to the doctor in, I don't know, 5, 10 years. And I go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, listen, number one, you're considered obese.
How much did you weigh at the time?
I was 218.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
Wow.
Now, the 218, there's people that might be 218, 5'8", and maybe you're not obese, or maybe you're not that out of shape. But I was straight fat. Like I wasn't working out. I went from 155, pretty consistent throughout my teens, up until 20, to 218. But I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing anything. So it wasn't a healthy 218. It was a very unhealthy 218. I was in college. Next to a McDonald's is 24 hours, so I used to get like triple cheeseburgers in the middle of the night, supersized fries, supersized soda, and then that was pretty much every night besides everything else I was eating.
What happened during that time that you kind of let go in a way?
I got comfortable with my wife. So she was my girlfriend. I met her, and next thing you know, I went from hanging out with my friends, working out, playing basketball, to like, you know what? I'm comfortable where I'm at. Yeah, so...
Happiness, right?
Happiness,
it's almost like, you have something like a stable gig, and like you're comfortable, you're happy because you found your love. You're about to have a kid. Man, David Goggins has a quote about that. I think it's like, you get comfortable, and then it's like you put your foot off the gas a little bit. Pun intended.
so I stopped everything. Yeah, I mean, when I first met my wife, I'll just bring something up because it's kind of funny. When she first went out with me, she used to come with me to the races. And she would be like sleeping in the car, and I would go and watch the races, and we'd be out there every night. I mean, I was going out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every night I was going out to some type of race, some type of car thing. And she was out with me every night. And then one day she said, I'm never going back out with you. And so it was a combination of going out with my wife, getting comfortable, and also just being comfortable driving. I was still out there, you know, besides being a homebody, I was still out there involved with cars during this time. So I think that combination of things kind of took me away from being active. And so
Physically active.
physically, yeah, I was still racing. I was still like hanging out with cars.
Right.
I look at my photos, and I went from being a pretty lean teen and up to 20 to like a meatball. Like I look like a meatball.
Right.
You know, that's what actually my friends used to call me.
I'll see if I can put a picture up right now, you know, just to see the picture,
if
you don't mind.
I gotta get permission first before I can post it, because some people don't want me to share that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like, cause I don't mind sharing it.
Yeah.
But some people are like, oh, you know, don't share that because you know, like it was a really unflattering time. But
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's like, it's part of your journey. You know
I
what
love
I'm saying?
it. To be
Like,
honest with you, I would share it all day.
yeah, like a caterpillar, it's a butterfly. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like,
yeah.
like it has to struggle through the cocoon and like and push itself out.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
You know, like there was another thing you said. I kind of wanted to, but I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, sure.
The struggle is everything.
Yeah.
You know, like the struggle in life. I don't want to say I love the struggle, but I do, because the struggle to me is what makes me who I am. You know, growing up as a kid from an Asian family. You know, I don't know if you might be able to relate to this,
Sure.
but like a lot of old school Asian parents are very strict. You know, to the point where you know it was okay to do certain type of disciplinary actions. You know,
Sure.
like very strict schools.
Sure.
You know, and I grew up in a very strict type of environment.
Yeah.
And you know, I used to look back as a teen and be mad at my dad, like, oh my, you know, the way you were so strict with me, and you know, it was almost embarrassing. I used to go to school, and all my friends knew I got in trouble because, like, you know, my dad was very strict about stuff.
Yeah.
But it also made me who I am, you know, and I became a better person, I think of it. So like the struggle can either make you or break you. And you mentioned hard work, you mentioned the struggle, and those things also made me who I am. You know, like I'm a glass half full kind of guy. And, you know, I think because if you look at life as glass half full, whatever comes your way will actually make you stronger and better. You know, I let people, so that's why the Racing Realtor helped me branding wise, to be able to let people know that, hey, I do real estate, but you may have known me from something else before.
Yeah, because it's
You know?
not just about the transaction. For
No,
you.
it's not. It's always about the relationship.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, and I think something has to be said about that, because like the sales culture, I think in America has this perspective of, I don't even know if it maybe even goes beyond America. It has this perspective of, oh, this guy's trying to finagle me,
Right.
or bugazi me, like oh, he's just nice because he wants me to
Trying
buy
to get
something.
the sale, right.
But to me, it's like, no, like really, sales is, hey, I am able to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I'm happy, I'm proud of what I do, and I'm happy to explain to you what I do.
Right.
If you need it, perfect. If you don't need it, no big
worries,
deal.
yeah.
No
100%.
worries. But
Right.
the ultimately the end is, I made a friend.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of purity in that, to just build connections with people.
Right.
Because to me, it's like that's more valuable than anything.
100%,
Building
bro.
connections.
Yeah.
But I wanted to circle back to
Yes.
the powerlifting.
Yes.
So we were talking about, you kind of let yourself go. 200.
Oh, yeah. So
it was like 218. You said.
I was 218.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that number, because that was probably, it was a very unhealthy 218. It wasn't like, I had some muscle under the,
Yeah.
we're talking about a period of from about 20 years old until
You just got comfortable.
maybe about 26, 27.
Wow, like 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years of just downhill. I was still driving. I was still
Sure.
into cars, but my physical goals, I probably hit the gym a few times with some friends, and
Right.
I just lost my motivation to like,
Yeah. Mentally you were there, but then physically you didn't, have that match. It didn't match
no,
at that time.
It didn't
Right.
match, and I let myself go. I got very comfortable, and I didn't even care about that. I was like, how I looked. I was just, and I think one of the reasons why I didn't care a lot was because I was still out driving. I was still out racing. I was becoming something else. So, not to go back to racing, but it kind of transitions to like when I took care of my fitness. When I used to go out and I used to be with people that I trusted, my own group, my own friends, and we would be in a competitive situation with like cars, it gave me a certain confidence. Not just confidence behind the wheel, but a confidence to talk to people. because there was a lot of people that would be involved. So, we're talking about people that were involved. Maybe they were there as to cheer you on. Maybe they were there to bet. And when I was involved doing these things, it helped build me up as my character up. Like I felt like there was people that was trusting me to do things. And I don't know if that translated real estate. I'm looking back, maybe it did, or what I do now and me as a person. But it definitely, it definitely helped to create who I am now. And now going back to fitness, when I found out that I was out of shape and that, I had to take care of myself because the doctor had basically told me, one, you're obese. Number two, I was pre-diabetic. So I was type 2. He said, if you come back in 3 months and you're still the same, your blood sugar is still the same, you're going to have to be put on a daily insulin. So when the doctor told me that I was pre-diabetic, it basically scared the crap out of me because I hate needles. And he said, yeah, we're going to have to put you in. Now, I didn't have a good relationship with this doctor. He was very, very crude. He kind of put me down a lot.
No bedside manner.
No bedside manner. I think he did it on purpose because I think he knew that I didn't like his tone of voice. It was almost like he was fat shaming me. But I didn't get offended because I was fat. I got offended because he was basically, it's like almost like he counted me out.
He was bullying you.
He was bullying me. And I'm not one of those people like, oh my God, don't call me fat. I was more like you're going to be a helpless case.
Right.
So when I left that first time he told me I was pre-diabetic, from that day until 5 months later, I went from 218 to 167. I mean,
5 months.
5 months, I changed everything. I cut out water. I mean, I cut out all the soda. And I didn't even get into me smoking. I used to be a very heavy smoker.
Cigars or cigarettes?
No, cigarettes.
Yeah.
Newports.
Cigarettes.
I used to smoke Newports all day.
Like a pack a day?
More.
Oh,
yeah, that was bad.
Well, I want to say, first off, like I have a very, sometimes a very adversarial relationship personally with the medical field.
Right.
Not to say that I don't believe in doctors, but I'm very critical on some doctors because I've encountered doctors in the past very similar where
Right.
it's just like maybe they for some reason they feel like they're in a position of judgment. Where it's like, where is this coming from? Maybe that particular doctor had health issues too. Like, why are you, you know what I mean?
did.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, why, you know what I mean? Like, where is the point of encouragement to get you to change, versus, hey, I mean, maybe that's what he felt was encouraging. But I mean, if you clearly said that, hey,
No,
he didn't feel encouraged. I mean, man, that was not a good doctor.
I'm pretty sure that it was his tactic that he used, whether it's just to me or others. I'm pretty sure that he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, because the day that he did my blood sugar and it came back good, he literally left me a strong voicemail. I think I have him on the phone. I kept it because he said I was the textbook case for someone changing things around.
Oh, that's what he said?
That's what he said in his voice. That was the first time that he had kind words. So I'm pretty sure that his tone changing on that voicemail was pretty much when I did my blood test and things came back good. And he said,
"Oh, afterwards, when you got 167." Well, I mean, I can't defend him though because it's like, of course he's got hindsight is 2020. Of course,
100%.
Of course he's gonna say that. Right. Oh yeah, yeah. Pat myself on the back. I encourage
doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're a textbook case for someone turning things around. Your blood sugar's good. Your weight is good. And then so shortly after that, I changed doctors.
Yeah, I'm bitter. Like to me, it's like if you're getting vibes like this from your doctor, my friendly viewers, change doctors. Like I don't feel like the role of a doctor.
No,
is to kind of shame people.
Definitely not. It's not for everyone. Thankfully for me, I never took offense to what he was doing. It did give me a motivation because I kind of wanted to prove him wrong, but some people I don't think would be able to handle it.
So in your case, do you feel like this particular doctor encouraged you to and motivated and inspired you to lose all that weight?
It definitely helped. See, okay, so I'm going to give a quick background. Growing up as a teen, I was kind of like the older sibling, the older cousin amongst my family here. So everyone kind of looked up to me as a kid because I was one of the older kids in the family, amongst like all the cousins and stuff, and my brother. And so everyone used to think, oh, Kenny's, the strong guy. He's the older guy. And, so once I got to a certain point where I was really out of shape and I was really bad, a combination of me feeling like, man, I'm really kind of weak. You know, I'm weak. I'm out of shape. I'm kind of embarrassed. You know, it's kind of embarrassing. And then him talking down on me motivated me to change. I always had a piece of me that wanted to change.
Right.
So it was just a jump start to hear you're gonna have to go on a daily insulin with a needle, or you know, yeah, look at you. You're pretty pathetic at this way. You know, it's pretty. I mean, I'm sure he's a
Wow,
bit
he
pathetic.
said it
Yeah.
like that. Jeez.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Oh,
he did.
wow.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if he sees this, you know, you never know. You might watch it.
yeah,
Yeah. You know, he
But-
claimed to be a car guy too. So
well, but you know what I want to say? You know, like, ultimately at the end, you lost the weight. What was it, 50 pounds? Holy moly. From
Yeah.
218 to 167.
Right.
Did you start powerlifting at that time? Was
No.
that what got you down? What was your routine? How did you
So-
get it down so quickly? 5 months?
yeah, 5
Wow.
months. Yeah, 5 months. So I quickly started tracking everything I was eating. Number one, you know, my Fitness Pal, it was pretty popular. I don't know, you know the app, My Fitness Pal.
No.
All right. I mean, if you ever Google it, right now it used to be free. Now I think you got to pay for it for the good stuff. But it used to be free back then. So I tracked all my macros. I started studying, so I'd go to Barnes and Nobles and I was reading Fitness Magazine and all this other stuff. And I didn't have a coach, so I literally read magazines and Googled how to lose weight. Found something that I like to do and stuck to it. But I did cardio almost every day. Cut out soda. I was already quitting smoking, so I was kind of down that path of health. And from there on, you know, like I did not get into powerlifting yet. I wasn't lifting heavy. I was more like trying to learn to do a pull-up. I couldn't even do one pull-up at this time.
Wow.
Yeah, like I remember doing, if I did 5 to 10 push-ups, it was like a big deal for me.
Right, but using the same mentality that you have for racing, that tunnel vision,
Right.
you've already decided, hey, I'm going to lose this weight.
Right.
And, you know, once you have that high standard, that high goal,
Right.
the pieces just kind of fell into place. It's like,
100%.
I want that. How do I get that? You've read magazines, you Googled,
Did what I had
you
to
did
do.
everything that you can to
Stayed consistent with the work.
change your life, right?
Yeah, and that was kind of the segue into falling in love with fitness.
Right.
You know, I started, so the reason I got into lifting was after I lost all this weight.
Right. And you left the doctor at that time?
So I changed him shortly
Yeah.
after he gave me the good voicemail. He said, "You're good to go, maintain." I changed doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I changed doctors because I felt like I showed him that I could do it.
Sure.
And it was time to kind of move on.
Right.
So I changed doctors. But one thing I wasn't happy with was the way I looked. So I used to take photos when I was once in my 160s, and I looked like a skeleton because I had lost this weight so quickly that it wasn't like, you know, like if you don't lose weight the proper way, it's almost like I didn't starve myself. You know, I was getting a certain amount of protein, you know, 1 gram for a pound of body weight at the time was my goal. And I was doing a lot of cardio, but I wasn't lifting weights. I was doing, well, if I was, it was like dumbbells, like, you know, light,
Sure.
you know, light, high rep type stuff. And so I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like that I lost a lot of weight. My face looked sunken in certain photos. So that from that point on, I decided, you know what, let me try to figure out how to like gain weight properly. And
Muscle weight.
muscle weight. I wanted to gain muscle. I wanted to kind of burn my fat. And ironically, I still didn't burn some of the leftover fat. So that's a different topic for a different day. But, you know, I wanted to get stronger the way I thought I used to be. And then on top of that, I wanted to gain weight, but I wanted to gain weight correctly.
Right.
And so I started searching for different ways to gain weight, right? Without getting fat or getting back to my old ways. And one quick thing is when I was younger, back in my teens, even though I was fit, I was always intimidated by a barbell. Like it was, I still remember going to the gym and I would see people doing a deadlift or a squat.
I'll put a picture here of a barbell if they don't.
Oh yeah,
Right.
And I would see it, and I remember the feeling of being intimidated by this bar with weight. Like I was scared to hurt myself, and
Like dropping on your neck type of thing.
well, that's not necessarily, but like let's say you squat, and you used to see people with like 300, 400, 500 in their back, and I was like, oh my god, it's gonna fold me, you know. Or a deadlift, you're picking it up and you're gonna break your back. The bench, I used to do the bench, but my bench wasn't that great back then. It's not that great now, but it wasn't. It was really bad back then, and I didn't have any coach, so I kind of just did it, and I would end up injuring myself or stuff like that. So now here I am trying to gain weight and gain strength, and I made a commit myself to try to overcome my fear of the barbell, and that's the beginning of me learning how to squat, how to deadlift. So I started following people.
How long ago was this?
This is This is about 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, 8 years ago. And, I used to go to a gym over here locally, LA Fitness. I'm sure there's LA Fitness everywhere. But I ended up meeting a lot of people there that transformed my whole mindset and way of looking at fitness because we became like a family. And because of those people, shout out to all my friends from LA Fitness back in the day. Between lifting and calisthenics, those people basically molded who I am now. They gave me a passion to be competitive. They gave me a passion to believe that I could get stronger. I kind of want to shout them out. I don't want to like ruin your show. So
No, it's okay. You can if you want.
yeah, and I really appreciate certain people from back in the day and now. But back in the day, my boy Naj. So he's definitely gonna watch this.
Heck yeah.
Because I hated the bench, and he told me I got to do it more, and he helped me. My boy Mike, Blame, all these guys. These guys literally transformed the way I approach just going to the gym, just like looking forward to the gym. Leo, and there was a lot of other people there. And because of the people that I was surrounded with, it made me want to be better. And I think that lesson also translated to everything else in life. Be around people that inspire you. Be around people that make you want to be successful. Like realtors. So I have a new agent on my team. And, shout out to Ricky, right? He just came on this week. And, one of the biggest things I always tell him is, and everyone else that I work with, we have to be around people that are successful, right? So it's almost like one of my goals to make sure that he's successful and to try to find the success, find your way, because if he's successful, I'm going to be successful and we'll all be successful. You got to surround yourself with successful people. And I found that really through fitness. Maybe I found it through racing too.
There's that culture of supporting each other.
Well, the thing is, right? Not to go back to racing real quick.
No, it's all good.
But there was one thing that was in my mind that I didn't say. And in racing, it's kind of different now with technology and cars. Cars kind of drive themselves even when they're fast. But back in the day when we used to race, the community that I spoke about, that in the know, sometimes we didn't get along with everyone, right? There was rivals, there was rival drivers, there was rival groups. But I look back at those people now and I appreciate them. Even now, we're older now, so maybe it's not a rivalry like it used to, but you know who the greats were. You know who was really good. And you respected them even if they were like against you. Even if we were always going against each other, because you know that they were good at what they did. And they brought out the best in me. And vice versa, hopefully. So, And
another value point to add on to competing, just, because there is that component of a rival, a competition, us versus them in a way, it motivates and drives you to push further than you'd ever imagine.
I love competition.
Yeah.
I love competition. I'm a big Evo guy. I don't know if you know what an Evo is.
No.
All right, so shout out to anyone that's a car person, but Lancer Evolution is a very famous like car. It was known in its rally, and I have one. So the white car right in front is it's an Evo, and there was a very famous line that sometimes Mitsubishi itself, the car company, used to use for its rally cars. I think it was rally art, and it said the spirit of competition, and the spirit of competition is just something that will elevate you, and no matter what you do, cars, lifting, whatever you're passionate about, running, real estate. Real estate is so competing and seeing someone that's doing really good and saying, you know what, I respect what they're doing. I think I could do it, or I could do better.
Of course.
And it goes back to lifting too. So like with lifting, I go to a gym where Iron Volt, and everyone in my gym that I associate myself with, I believe that they're doing great stuff too. I mean, it doesn't matter what weight they're pushing, but the work that they put in, the goals that they have at whatever they're doing, it motivates me. I went by today and I was around people that doesn't matter what weight we're doing, but we're talking about doing stuff that we're at our limit. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so
No, it's all good.
But I'm getting hyped right now because I love competition, but I believe that competition is a healthy thing, or it could be a negative thing too. You could use competition, you could view it in a negative way, and it'll tear you up, or you could look at it as something that will make you better. It will elevate your game and elevate people around you. So,
yeah. So let's talk about when you start competing, because at this point you lost all this weight, you started getting into this powerlifting culture.
Right.
When did that bug? I mean, that bug always was with you, but when did you start competing?
So when I first started learning how to do the barbell lifts, squat, bench, deadlift, which is the three foundations for powerlifting, I didn't know anything about it, but there was people that I started meeting that were pretty good at it, right? And so they started teaching me, and I started doing it, and I started finding programs online that would help me try to get better at it. And I ended up finding that when I started lifting, right, and I started lifting quote unquote heavy, that I was able to get the same type of focus and mental therapy and tunnel vision that I used to find when I used to drive. Like the same euphoric feeling that you get like when I used to race and I was just in the zone, or doing anything else that I enjoyed. I used to find it in the barbell, and next thing you know, I became a gym junkie. But I wasn't competitive yet. I was just enjoying lifting, testing myself. I had no direction. I didn't really have a coach. So whatever I went in, I would go as I feel. And I did progress. Now, fast forward to more in recent times, I ended up meeting people that were competitors. My coach, actually, I knew him for about 8 years, ever since the LA Fitness days. And he's my coach now, and he became a competitor. He was always strong. So I surrounded myself with people that were in the competitive nature, and it kind of motivated me to say, you know what, maybe I could do it myself. So I did my first competition back in April, April or May. And
of this year, 2023.
Yeah, it was my first competition that I did on a platform that was in USAPL, which is United States of America Powerlifting. It's an association that's considered the most drug tested, because there's some federations that allow certain type of enhancement.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If you work hard, I don't really judge. I don't really care. You got to put the work in. But I'm quote unquote natural. Right. And because I'm natural, my association, they do drug testing.
Yeah.
And in this association, from my first meet, I ended up breaking the New York State deadlift record for Masters 1, because I'm above 40 years old, in my weight class.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty, and
broke that record. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's what's up.
What's really dope about it was not the fact that I broke a record, but it gave me a certain confidence that when I go into to now lift and train regularly, and now I'm going to my next comp in December, it gives me a confidence when I go out there that I know what I'm capable of. But the other weird thing is when I first started lifting back in the day, and I was, intimidated by lifting and stuff like that. I never really thought that I would be able to do what I'm doing now. And so lifting has really taught me that your mind is the only thing that limits you. And I think that applies to lifting, and it applies to everything in life, making money, real estate, success, whatever, because I never thought that I would be able to lift like I do, the numbers that I do, and to me, it's natural. Like,
what are you doing now? Like as far as your, let's say, squats.
Right. So
how many pounds are you able to squat?
So in the gym, I hit 507.
507 pounds.
Yeah.
And you said the other two were bench. Was it benching and then deadlift? Right?
Yeah. So bench, my max ever hit in my whole life was 275, which is kind of embarrassing because I really want to be at 300 bench.
But that's not the record. That's not the record breaker, right?
No,
it's all good.
No. So the record breaker. I mean, my bench will go up, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
But the record. So my max I ever hit in the gym for a deadlift was 551. And
551 pounds, right?
Yeah, but in comp I hit 540.
540 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was the one that broke your the record for New York State?
For New York State, for USAPL, the association, for 90 kg, because I'm 90 kg weight class, for Masters 1. So, it's a lot of caveats. But my mindset now is that I want to go and try to get the best record I could possibly get. Like deadlift has been moving fairly well. So my mindset is sky's the limit.
I'm going to post a picture of some examples of what 500 pounds is.
I got the video.
No, but I'm saying, like, just in general, like a car engine or something. Like, and this dude pretty much is able to deadlift and squat 500 pounds. That's incredible.
If you told me years ago that I could do it, I would have probably said that I think that's probably impossible.
Right.
But
I still think it's impossible. But wow, it's like just,
all right.
yeah,
so
that's incredible.
If you're around the people that show you it's not, it kind of opens your mind. And like the people that I'm with on a daily basis that I live with, when you see them, you see what the work they put in, then you see what they're doing, it'll change the way you believe.
You know, it's consistent with other powerlifters that I've met in my life, where it's like this incredible belief, like almost disbelief in a way. It's like I couldn't believe that I can lift this heavy, but it's like in the gains seems to be something that happens fairly quickly, right?
Fairly quickly.
You can, as long as you do it safely, you can really see huge, like you're going from like 300 pounds to potentially 400 pounds in a short amount of time, right?
So the body and the mind, it's your only limit, in my opinion, is the one that you place in your mind. And it sounds so obvious, sounds so cliche, but everything you're talking about, watching your numbers go up as you lift, when you believe that it's not as bad as you think it is, or you believe that you could do it, or you believe, you know, it goes back to reaching for the stars. I use this analogy. Remember I said I used it before? So there was someone at one time that said that they're going to go to the moon, right? Or they're going to go into a spacecraft and they're going to go to the sky. And we're talking about during a time when that was unheard of. And someone really thought that. And then someone went and did it. Now imagine the feeling of someone back then saying, I'm going to go do this. And then all of a sudden it happens. And all the disbelief, all these people that thought you're crazy, I mean, you can't even go like, I mean, even to fly a plane, you know, before there was planes, I always think about like the idea of people that had no technology. And they're talking about going into some type of aircraft and flying like a bird. And how scary it must have been going up there that first time.
Yeah.
You know, so the mind and the body, it's just, and you know, one thing that's very interesting is with powerlifting and social media, you're going to see people on social media doing crazy stuff now, right? Like kids especially. I find that kids are exceeding strength limitations that no one thought was possible. But why are they doing that? They're doing it because they see it on social media. They'll see some guy squatting 500 and he's 16 years old. And he'll be like, oh man, this guy could do it. Why can't I?
Right.
And then obviously the guidance to work, I mean, you don't want to hurt yourself, right? So no, I don't want 16-year-olds to go and test it.
Sure.
But if they're serious about it and they put the work in
safely.
and their mindset is, I'm going to do it, all of a sudden people's levels start getting raised because their belief system is getting raised. So it kind of applies to like,
It's beautiful.
going back to business, you know, like your only limitation is what you think you could do. You know, there's no reason that unless you were born into money or you got some type of shortcut, those people that find success, they don't care about the struggle. They care about putting the work in, right? And so like working out, to me, is like the struggle in life. You know, you go in, you're going to have a bad day, but you still put the work in. You know, you put the work in consistently every single day. What's going to happen? Eventually, it's going to get lighter, you know? And so I feel like it's all interconnected with what we're doing.
I gotta say, this whole episode, the theme of...
Man, I'm hyped right now.
No, like I'm just saying, like the theme of just working hard and pushing your boundaries and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, having the high expectation.
Right. Yeah.
This is just, again, something, as I was mentioning before, like this is an incredible story because this is something that just littered throughout your life.
Right.
And it's
I
something
love it.
that...
It gets me hyped.
Yeah.
So, But not to cut you off.
No, it's all good.
Only because when you say certain words, it's like trigger points to me.
Yeah.
The word uncomfortable is so important to me, right? Because when you go back to, let's go back to racing, right? And this is the way I used to feel. When I used to race and there was people that were depending on me to win. They would put money on me, my friends. Everyone's kind of watching you. And it's you versus someone else. So it's like a one-on-one. So yeah, you know, like lifting is kind of like, oh, you know, it's you versus you. But if you're racing against someone, it's kind of you versus someone else. And it's you versus another group or it's another whatever. And so I used to always feel uncomfortable. I used to always feel like, oh my God, like, you know, yeah, I'm getting this tunnel vision. But right before I get into that tunnel vision, I feel like I have a certain weight on my back. And, you know, it's what you use that, like you could either use that to break you or you could use it to elevate you. You know, and I feel like that's applicable when you're doing a deal in real estate. You know, not to go into real estate.
No, it's
like,
all good.
The real estate, as you might know in this industry, is a very up and down type of thing.
Yeah.
Like every single day, I tell this to all the people I work with, it's literally a roller coaster of emotions throughout the whole day. Because one minute you're getting good news. 1 minute you're getting bad news, and if you're not emotionally in tune with your business, you're gonna have like a very stressful day. So being uncomfortable and knowing how to get through that and elevate your game, whether it's to figure out a solution to the problem, or you didn't lift the way you wanted to lift, you still got to go and push through. And the uncomfortable thing, I think, is such a key ingredient for anyone that wants to go and find the next level.
Would you say that's your secret sauce to what makes you successful?
Definitely one of them. Yeah.
So what would you say you can attest to your success? Would you say it's hard work, luck, your philosophy from competition?
Oh, that's a great question.
What drives you? Yeah.
So there's one thing about hard work. I've seen a lot of people work hard throughout their life, right? And not to knock anyone, they work hard, but they don't really get anywhere. They just kind of put their hours in. And I was guilty of it too. With the certain jobs back in the day, I worked hard, I bust my butt because I thought I wanted to like find my success there, and end up getting laid off. So because the company downsized. That's a story for another day.
Sure.
But that was part of my story, getting laid off and changing my whole mindset about stuff. But hard work alone is not good enough. There's a lot of people that work hard every day. They wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, they go out, they come home, and they feel like they're going nowhere in life. And then they do that for 30, 40 years. I think hard work is the ingredient that you need, but it's only an ingredient. The other ingredients is very important. And some of that is your mindset, like you're raising your expectations, that your belief system. And it sounds so, I hate when I say it to people, because I feel like you hear this on social media memes and stuff like this, and you hear it from like inspirational speakers about elevating your thing and your belief system, but it's true. Like, you have to literally believe that you're gonna go someplace. The word that came to mind earlier was like manifesting it.
Yeah.
Manifesting is very important, because you have to first believe in it, and it's hard to believe in something that's not there. So then you got to work hard to believe it. And how do you do that? You do that through consistently placing yourself in a position to think about it. So for example, real quickly, like lifting. If my goal this year is I want to deadlift 600, that's definitely 100% a goal of mine. I probably can't do it today, even though my mind, I shouldn't even be saying that, because I hate when I say stuff like that. Yeah. It kind of messes me up.
Right.
But my goal is I'm going to do it soon. And every single time I go to the gym, like today, I went to the gym before this. When I go and my coach gives me a workout to do, my goal is to give that workout the best possible performance today, no matter how I feel. I'm going to give it my best, because there's a formula for numbers that will give you your top weight, for example. So for example, if I'm going to go and deadlift 600, I should be able to do 5 reps of, let's say, 530. This hypothetical, there's a formula, theoretical formula. So my goal is, I might not be deadlifting 600, but I need to work closely to get 5 reps of 530. And so it's kind of like that with everything else in life. Like, whatever you choose to do, or business, or real estate, or, you got to kind of raise your limits. So hard work alone, going back to it, because I got totally...
No, this is really important stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, don't apologize. Right. This is really important stuff.
Hard work alone is not enough. There's a lot of people that work hard all their life and then look back and they're just happy with getting a retirement, something.
Right.
But if you want to really elevate yourself, the hard work plus the mindset and the belief system are 2 key ingredients.
Right.
But there are no shortcuts, because growing up, I had someone in my life, I'm not going to name names. He led me to believe for a time that there are shortcuts in life. If you just know how to find a shortcut, Yeah,
there's people like that. Yeah.
And if there's a shortcut, there's usually a price to pay. Like, it's not like there's no magic formula for a shortcut, unless you win the lottery. But even then, how many people win the lottery and then they give it all away anyway?
Right.
Because
or they blow it off because they don't have a financial foundation, right?
Yes, the foundation is the word.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. It's, my man Kenny, that's a mic drop moment right there, because it's like, this is going to be a first for Secret Sauce, Hamilton Lao. Whenever I ask that question, do you think it's luck or do you think it's hard work? This is the first time that somebody gave me a different answer, which is not just about hard work. It's about mindset. And I would imagine when you say mindset, it's that high expectation, the belief that you can do it, right?
belief, yep.
Using that analogy of that powerlifting mentality, right?
Right.
Because agreeably, if your expectation is 300 pounds
Right.
deadlift, and you don't want to go any higher than that, that's what you're gonna be doing for the rest of your
That's
life.
what you're gonna be doing. There's
Right?
literally true story. There's people out there that literally always tell me I shouldn't do something because don't go past 300, don't go past 400. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and it's a reflection of them. I'm not knocking them, but my belief is a 300-pound deadlift is my warm up, right? Because I've made myself believe that, and so I'm actually coaching a friend of mine right now. And he's a new lifter, and I tell him, listen, the only way to get up to a certain weight, like you want to get to, is to believe that no matter how much that weight is, that it's your warm-up. So 300 and 400 or 500 or whatever, there's reasons why people are deadlifting something ridiculous. It's because they believe that 500 or 600 is still a warm-up, right? And it's all about what you believe in, but then putting it to work. So the hard work is definitely important, because if you don't actually do the work while you're believing it, you're fooling yourself. Yeah. But if you do the hard work and you believe in it while you're doing the hard work, and then you stay consistent. So I think that's the last thing. The consistency of your hard work plus your belief equals where you're going to go.
Wow. This is a lot of amazing jewels that you've given
I hope so,
to our viewers.
I love it.
I want to say, this episode, I got to say, it's probably going to be one of my favorite episodes because, for sure, because you not only, expressed your perspective in life of competition and how that changed you and molded you. Mm-hmm. Like when you get Kenny, when you work with Kenny, in real estate, this is what you get. There's nothing. What I love about podcasting too is that you really get to see the person for real. Right. And this is Kenny. So I want to say, Kenny, where do you? What is the radius of locations where you work?
As a realtor?
Yeah, as a realtor, yes.
So I cover Queens, the Bronx, parts of Manhattan, Westchester, Rockland, Orange, Putnam, Dutchess, parts of Sullivan County, and I'm also dual license in Connecticut, so Fairfield County.
Yeah, if you're looking, again, for somebody who has that competitive mindset, constantly looking to improve themselves, comfortable in uncomfortable environments, Kenny's your man. Yeah. Kenny, anything else, anything that you're up to right now that you want our viewers to know about?
I mean, pretty much those are the things that I'm doing right now. One other thing I wanted to
talk
about.
Please.
Sorry, it's just I have a lot of things in my mind.
No, this is important.
I'm really big as a realtor, but also in life with expectations. Yeah. So, always keep yourself grounded. Put all those other ingredients we spoke about, the hard work, the mindset and belief system, the consistency, but your expectations too. Because when you have all those things together, it kind of drives you to a certain place. And that, to be honest with you, all those ingredients apply to me as a realtor. Yeah. Because when you have I like to give those ingredients to my clients, because being a buyer is hard, but so is being a seller. Yeah. And if you don't prepare the clients in a certain way, it might be hard for them. So not to get totally off topic, but
no, but Kenny, my man,
yes,
amazing. Thank you so much for coming on Secret Sauce Hamilton. I'm gonna link Kenny's information in the description below. If you're looking for a realtor in the places that Kenny was describing, check him out. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
Oh, amazing. This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information.